When it was first announced that Thronebreaker, a solo prequel adventure based on the Witcher card game Gwent, was coming out, I didn't know what to make of it. Now that I have bought and played through the game, I can safely say that I'm still unsure about what to make of this game. It is a good game. I wouldn't have played through it or be making this video if it wasn't, but there are so many disparate elements that come together in the game, and while most are good, some just don't feel quite right. If I sound confused during the video, then you know what to attribute it to. Thronebreaker started out as a single-player campaign for Gwent, which itself was spun off from the card game of the same name in The Witcher 3. As Projekt Red developed it, though, the direction changed to making it a standalone game, and I definitely think that was the right choice content-wise. Thronebreaker is a card game with adventure and puzzle aspects littered around its world. The game released on Windows in October of 2018 and came to PlayStation and Xbox later in December. While the game was praised by fans and reviewers alike, a later article indicated that Projekt Red had been disappointed in its sales. Although, of course, that always comes with the caveat for disappointed video game sales of, were their expectations realistic? The game is fairly niche, even given its connection with a highly popular series like The Witcher. The game was also initially released on Projekt Red's own PC platform service, Good Old Games, instead of Steam, which limited its reach. It did come to Steam only a couple weeks after GOG, but some attribute the underwhelming sales to that initial release decision. Poor marketing choices, though, does not reflect it all on the game itself, so let's take a dive into what the game is. In Thronebreaker, you take control of Queen Meve, the ruler of Lyria and Rivia, located just north of the Nilfgaardian Empire, and, well, we all know where this is going. Nilfgaard invades Meve's kingdom and kicks her out of power. She is forced to flee and gather strength in her quest to kick the invaders back across the Yaruga River. Building the army basically boils down to building up your deck of cards and upgrading your camp with one of the 3 resources in-game. Gold and wood, which are used for upgrading buildings or recruiting units, which also requires the resource recruits. Most of the cards used in battle are generic soldiers with varying abilities, but there are also special hero cards that you can collect and lose as you make decisions in-game. Yes, like the other Witcher games, your decisions have consequences, and in this game especially, they reiterate that a lot of the time you are choosing between a set of bad options. The phrase, "you've chosen one evil in favor of another," comes up after certain decisions to illustrate this. I'll get back to the morality system later, after summarizing the final details of gameplay. In addition to keeping enough gold, wood, and recruits around, you also need to watch your army's morale, because this will give bonuses or penalties in standard battles. Standard battles are, with some exceptions, 3-round affairs where you need to beat your opponent twice to win the battle. You win by having more points at the end of a round. Pretty simple to begin with, but as with many card games, has a great deal of complexity as you dive into it. You learn mostly by doing, though. They aren't the only challenges, though, to overcome, with puzzle battles being the other big challenge to face. Puzzles occur on a game screen like the standard battles, but have specific goals to complete to achieve victory. Then there are also events, which can lead into battles or major decisions that alter your path forward. All of these events come up on the world map, which you traverse as Meve in a top-down format. Usually you can see events, battles, and puzzles on the map, but sometimes there are surprises. There is also loot on the map which you can collect to increase your resource pool, in addition to hidden treasure chests and other goodies that encourage you to explore thoroughly. As you can plainly tell, there is a lot more to this game than just the card game, but that is still at the core of the experience, so I'll start the discussion with that. I didn't care that much for Gwent when I played it in The Witcher 3. I felt it relied too much on having specific cards and luck to be that fun. The version of Gwent used in Thronebreaker is a streamlined version, and I think it benefited greatly from the change. Instead of 3 rows to work with, you are now down to 2, and the cards you play are generally more active. Luck is still a strong element since it is a card game where your cards vary every round, but for the most part that was balanced quite well in the standard battles. With the exception of the final major battle of the game, which I could rant about for days, but one battle leaving a sour taste does not ruin the system for me. The deck building and learning how to take advantage of the synergies made between certain units, heroes, trophies, and trinkets, the 4 types of cards used, is highly rewarding. Sometimes, though, the battles can get repetitive and a bit boring, but thankfully, puzzle battles were a very good way to break up the monotony. Puzzle battles with their unique cards and challenges were a lot of fun to play when they had clear instructions and goals. One of the things I noticed was the large variation in the challenge of the puzzles. Some were easy enough that my cat could complete them, and some were bad enough that I had to look up the solution after struggling for an hour. On the whole, though, the puzzles were probably my favorite aspect of the game. I felt a real sense of accomplishment when I managed to get a breakthrough to obtain the solution, which is exactly what you want to evoke in these kinds of game modes. The inconsistency prevents me from unconditionally singing the puzzle's praises, but if you enjoy working your brain more than usual in games, or like having breaks between regular card battles, the puzzles are a good place to go. The story, unsurprisingly for a Witcher game, is quite good. Meve is another strong protagonist whose character flaws and strengths blend well with the tough environment in which she resides. She is also surrounded by good characters among the heroes, and the story is filled with twists and turns that can surprise you. Not that they necessarily will, because there are definitely clues as to some of the secrets your companions are hiding. As Meve, though, you have many decisions to make, and the impact of those decisions is large since you are the leader of an army and representative of a nation. This game really has moments where there is no right choice. A little too many of those moments in my opinion, but so long as the consequences don't come out of nowhere, it works for me. And for the most part, that was the case. It may take some time to learn how characters and the army as a whole will react to certain decisions, but eventually I could predict with good accuracy what would happen after each choice, which is a good skill to have since you can lose companions based on your decisions. Of the 10 heroes and 1 dog you can get over your playthrough, I ended my game with 6 heroes and the dog, of course. Who's a good boy? You are. During the game, you travel to 5 different areas ranging from the snow-capped peaks of Mahakam to the swamps of Angren. Each locale is different, not just in environment, but also in dangers to watch out for and decisions to make. The dwarves of Mahakam really do react differently than the humans in Edirne, and it makes the areas feel distinct in deeper, more concrete ways. The art, though, helps, and the art of Thronebreaker was the first thing that made me pause and consider getting this game. I love the watercolor landscapes and character art, and the world really does feel vibrant, even in the chaotic burning ashes of the war. Animation really helps with this sense of life, not just on the overworld map, but also in the conversations and battles that happen throughout the game. I am a bit disappointed that a lot of the game isn't animated, instead being narrated in little text blocks, but I understand that doing so would have been an immense cost to production. Speaking of the narration, I did like those moments when the game went back to the storyteller mentioned in the opening cutscene. It became a bit like listening to an audiobook at those times, and I'm happy to listen, especially when the performance is excellent. In fact, the performances of all the characters were great across the board, although again this comes as little surprise to those familiar with the work put into voice acting and direction in the Witcher games. While the random villagers were generally fairly plain, the main characters were all lively and a delight to listen to. My shoutouts go especially to Meve and the narrator, which is great to see, or in this case here, because of how critical those roles are to the game. Musically, the game keeps up its impressive score on the aesthetic aspect. I think Thronebreaker's music was excellent, moving well from somber to triumphant as Meve's army experienced the highs and lows of a costly and bitter war. The sound effects only added to the experience both in and out of battle, and it seems to me a lot of care went into making the game feel like a real world. I appreciate all the effort put into those elements because it enhances the gaming experience in ways no gameplay or story can do alone. Thronebreaker is not a flawless game, but it is undoubtedly a good one. It has solid and varied gameplay that can keep you well entertained over the 30+ hours of story content. A good story that blends a tough morality system with strong-willed characters to put forward a narrative with a lot at stake. The aesthetics are pleasing both to the eyes and ears, which all adds together to make another well-constructed game in the Witcher universe. I definitely recommend this to anyone familiar with the Witcher series, anyone who enjoys deck-building card games, or those who want to shake things up and try something new. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it enjoyable and informative, and please leave a like or comment to help people find my channel. Subscribe if you want to see more of the videos I make, and as always, have a great day, and happy gaming!